Time for Tataru's grand endeavor. Medina has an urgent request to make of you. Ah, sister, you couldn't have come at a better time. Do you have a moment to talk? My thanks. You see, a foreign merchant approached the boutique with a proposal not long ago. Hancock of the East Aldenard Trading Company. Perhaps you've heard of him. Ah, so you have a history. No wonder Mistress Tataru declared him unscrupulous and deserving of infinite caution. Though there is risk in dealing with a man of such flexible principles, his knowledge of the Hingan markets would do much to bolster our efforts to make inroads in the Far East. That is why, despite her misgivings, Mistress Tataru seeks to negotiate a partnership, but for some reason or another, he has requested you be present at that meeting in Kugane. I realize business negotiations are not your forte, but we would be most grateful if you'd indulge his request. Of course, there is also the matter of our secret mission. Once it has been fully restored, this gorgeous sapphire will serve as the centerpiece of Mistress Tataru's necklace. I hope that one day she may look upon it as a memento of not only her mother, but of her many dear friends and allies. Perhaps during your visit to Kogane, fortune shall favour us with the discovery of an additional treasure to grace her keepsake. In any case, I believe that covers everything. Mistress Tataru shall meet you at the Ruby Bazaar in Kogane. I wish you a safe journey. Good morning, Saturn. You are up very early. How are you doing? Are you making sure to get breakfast? Always love Kogane. Krista, I'm so glad you could make it. I am equally thrilled by your arrival, though I expect I must apologise for the sudden invitation. Yes, you should. But more importantly, I'd like to know what the scheme is and how you intend to involve us. Oh my, so quick to assume the worst. While I would love nothing more than lay bare all of my dirty little secrets, 'twould be prudent to discuss my proposal first. Loath though I am to admit it, a draper shop but recently launched by the company has not been well received by the locals. Our intention was to promote the sale of imported apparel woven by the Uldan Weavers Guild. Alas, it seems Western fashion holds little appeal for the citizens of Kugane. So we rethought our strategy. We would produce Hingan couture, but with world-renowned Uldan silks. Kimono, as they are the favoured choice of wear in the Far East. Or rather, that was our plan, until our seamster fell ill. It was as I faced the unpleasant decision of abandoning this venture entirely that I chanced to hear of Tataru's boutique and the assorted Far Eastern-styled equipment they had on offer. You are referring to our samurai and ninja-inspired sets of armor, yes? Indeed. By putting your exemplary goods on display, the East Aldenard Trading Company would demonstrate that we, a Western trader, are capable of making garments suited to the needs of our local patrons. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I have been informed that you wish to establish a foothold in Higashi and East Othard. What better way to make your Kugane debut than to have us showcase your quality wares? It's not without its appeal, I admit. The perfect venue to gauge interest in our goods. Isn't it just? If I may take your grudging concession as a sign of interest, perhaps we can discuss the finer points of my proposed partnership. Oh, we'll be discussing it at length, but I've yet to see how many of this would require Sister's involvement. Indeed, I was just about to get to that part. Not long ago, I crossed paths with a group of certain someones who were eager to call on Sister again. I found myself quite taken with them, charming as they were, that I felt compelled to facilitate this reunion. And of course, one can never collect too many favours. Alas, I know that you are predisposed to question the motives behind any invitation from the East Aldenard Trading Company, and with good cause, I concede. So I instead invited you here under the guise of assisting Tataru with a boutique-related affair. I hope you will forgive the deception. Rest assured that you will be rewarded for your aid in this matter with your choice of recompense. Just before your arrival, I took the liberty of informing my new acquaintances that you would soon be making landfall on these shores. They ask that you meet them at Sakazuki in the Ruby Sea as soon as you are able. I believe it is a matter of urgency, so if you could travel there forthwith. Excellent. I leave them in your capable hands. Don't worry, I'm no stranger to Hancock's tricks. I'll make sure not to agree to anything until we've settled every last detail. Just do what you need to do, and return when you can. Apologies, sister. I pray you have not been waiting long. You look surprised. Did Hancock not tell you who requested your aid? Ah, but never mind that. I am simply glad that you are here. How have I been? Well, my training as the next Genbu continues apace. I must tell you, my friend, each day has been more trying than the last. Why, just the other day, the auspices placed 99 wasabi-filled takoyaki on a platter before me, and instructed me to divine which single ball out of the entire batch was not filled with the dreadful spice. Training to sharpen my foresight, they claimed, but it felt more akin to torture. By the end, I was reduced to a dithering sea turtle, swimming in a puddle of my own tears. That is all to say, I am only marginally closer to assuming my place as one of the four lords. Bah, get to the point already, Soroban. Gah, I was just about to arrive at it. Ahem. Come, my friends, show yourselves. It has been some time, sister. I am relieved to see you in good health. I understand you have been through a great deal. Your concern is unwarranted. This is the woman who quelled over our Aramitama and inherited Tenzin's legacy. There is no trial she cannot overcome. You misunderstand me, my brother. That, or you deliberately insinuate that I lack faith in sister's capabilities. Enough. We indebted ourselves to the merchant to obtain this meeting. Let us not distract ourselves with this nonsense and get to the heart of the matter. Very well. You may not know this, but Senri's craving for dango often brings her to Kagane. It was during such a visit that she spied a suspicious individual on Kogane Dori. A man who not only wore raiments identical to Tenzin's, but who also claimed to be his long-lost descendant. This descendant was selling good luck charms utterly devoid of benediction. His ploy is plain. He uses Tenzin's name to trick fools into buying his rubbish. Any who would dare sully Tenzin's name shall face my wrath. My flames will cleanse him of his sin and burn his soul to ash. Too merciful a punishment, I say. I shall personally render unto him every pain imaginable. By the Kami, is it possible they have both succumbed to the Aramitama once more? Ahem. The charlatan boasts of more than an esteemed heritage. He also claims to have the four lords at his beck and call. Insulting, yes, but I would rather resolve this without flames and torture. But having lived apart from men for so long, I fear we may be ill-equipped to do so on our own, hence why we have turned to you for assistance. You needn't agree to anything just yet, but why don't we all at least seek out this descendant and take his measure ourselves? I beg your pardon. Putting myself aside, the three of you approaching any settlement, let alone one as large as Kugane, would surely cause an uproar. Calm yourself, Soroban. You forget we are the four lords. 'Tis a trifling matter to assume a less conspicuous guise. Let us reconvene in Kugane. Soroban is to go first, while we three shall make our own approach separately to avoid attracting undue attention, just in case. Amazing. Inconspicuous indeed. Long has it been since I walked the streets of a city of this size. I did so once, to visit a tea house with Tenzin. I accompanied him in disguise. How my heart raced at the thrill and joy of it, until a priest saw through my glamour. Oh, the commotion that followed. Do not think I haven't noticed you eyeing my costume. If you must know, I acquired it during my travels in the West. I am rather fond of its soft and fluffy texture. We met Hancock by pure chance. Recognizing us as the auspices of legend, he said he wished to help us out of the kindness of his heart. I almost believed him. It would seem we have managed to arrive with little fuss. But only the Kami know how long our presence will remain a secret. Again, with the needless worrying, our disguises are perfect. None may suspect you are the four lords at first glance, but you are suspicious in the extreme. We could have used our power to assume the form of men, but those of keen sight would still be able to discern our true nature. The costumes were an innocuous alternative. There's nothing innocuous about them. Senri said she found the swindler on Kugane Dori, yes? Let us head there at once. Gather round, friends, gather round. As you have no doubt surmised from my crimson armour, I am the proud descendant of Tenzin, the famous hero of Eld, who once slew an entire host of fearsome Oni. But do not take my word for it. Behold! In this hand I hold Tenzin's beloved katana, the Phoenix Blade. I don't know what it looks like, but if he's got the Phoenix Blade, then he must be who he claims. Idiots. The true blade has remained in our care since Tenzin's passing. Something seems off. I see there are some who remain unconvinced. Very well. You leave me no choice. Allow me to introduce you to my sworn allies, the four lords. Oh dear, I'm almost afraid to look. That's your signal. I expect my money's worth. Introducing Genbo, the turtle auspice and foreseer of calamity. Suzaku, the avian auspice and master of the flames of resurrection. Seryu, the dragon auspice and devourer of young maidens. Last but not least, adorable, we have Byaku, the small and fluffy feline auspice. Why am I alone a cuddly creature? Surely he could have hired a Hrothgar or Mikote to portray me. At least he did not slander your character. Devourer of maidens. Ha! What is this rabble? All who have heard the tale of Tenzin know that the four lords are beasts, not three mammas and a cat. These are the glamoured forms they assume so they may roam the realms of men undiscovered. Surely you can imagine the chaos that would ensue if they went about undisguised. Even so, there's no way they'd wear such ridiculous outfits. And yet, here they are, dressed in far worse. This farce is infuriating. I will not abide him making mock of the bonds we shared with Tenzin. We are of one mind, my sister. He must be silenced. Does Tenzin even have a descendant? There was nothing in the legends about him fathering any children. But there was mention of one who loved him more dearly than life itself. I, the woman to whom I owe my storied lineage, is none other than the sublime crimson beauty standing before you, Suzaku. Let him speak. Perhaps he is not wholly undeserving of immolation. Bah! How easily your rage is quelled. Having proven my ancestry to your satisfaction, my lords and ladies, I bid you partake of my good fortune, for I have auspicious wares to share with you today. Tenzin put countless Oni to the sword long ago, 'tis true, but only by the grace of these miraculous good luck charms. Just one will confer unto you all matter of fortune, good health, a happy family, scholarly achievement, financial success, romantic fulfillment, and much, much more. But that's not all. Purchase a charm now and I'll even throw in a stylish strap featuring a four lords design of your choosing. My stock is limited, so be sure to buy while supplies last. I'll take 2. No, 10. My blood boils to see Tenzin's good name used in this matter. As does mine. We cannot sit idly by and allow this to continue. I think our purveyor of good fortune is in need of a proper scare. Are you convinced as well, sister? Lest you worry, despite his preposterous depiction of me, I have no intention of harming the swindler. That so many would fall for such an obvious deception. No matter the age, mortals see only that which they wish to. He seemed quite pleased with himself as he packed up his stall. Business was good, no doubt. How shall we proceed? With care and preparation, we all saw how deftly he countered accusations of fraud. A more clever approach is needed. We must limit his ability to spin more lies. Have you any ideas, sister? The presence of the four lords should be more than enough to convince him. Oh ho ho, indeed. Our very existence alone is enough to prove his claims false. Then it is settled. You shall play the role of Tenzin's true descendant, and we shall accompany you. With us at your side, the impostor will have no choice but to confess his crimes. Still, we would be wise to prepare for contingencies. With me, Soroban, we make for Ryson Temple. Then it is up to us to find and confront the swindler. As you are familiar with the city, I bid you lead the way. Speak with Suzaki when you are ready. Satin says, Byako actor is my favourite. I also like to think that it implies the cat is being paid to act. Wars. All kitties gotta get that bag, right? He was very cute. Kitty has to eat, of course. Get that bag of treats. His customers may have seen where he went, so let us begin by questioning them. I would also know more of his true identity. Of all the heroes of legend, why claim Tenzin's name? The answer may help us to stop him without resorting to violence, since some of you apparently lack the stomach for it. Suzaku and Seryu are now accompanying you. Keep them at your side in order to proceed with quest objectives. Oh, exciting. Just casually walking around town with two gods behind me. Fancy a dumpling, guys. This place is so pretty. Alright, where are we going? Aha! Wait, I'll talk to you first. Sunri made mention of a wonderful tea house she frequents to feed her dango addiction. She is kind enough to bring back a portion to us at the temple after every visit. I know. Rice dumplings have naught to do with our purpose. But should we find a spare moment, know that I am particularly fond of a mitarashi dango. This experience brings to mind the days when we travelled with Tenzin. Never one to sit still, he would pursue every opportunity for adventure, heedless of the trouble that would invariably follow for us all. I gather you are cut from the same cloth. Kami be praised to have met Tenzin's descendant, and get this good luck charm besides. What a fool I was to doubt him, he who commands the 4 lords of legend. As long as I have this, fortune shall surely shine upon me. Oh, has my good luck charm caught your eye? If you wanted one for yourself, you are sadly out of luck. The merchant selling them said that was the last of our stock, and he did not think he would be able to acquire more. But if you wish to hear it from him, he was headed towards Tassogari Bridge. You will know him by his attire. I swear, he was the spitting image of Tenzin from the storybooks. She speaks of yonder bridge, does she not? Others may have taken note of our quarry as he passed. Have I seen a man claiming to be Tenzin's descendant? The one who was selling good luck charms by the dozens, you mean? No, he didn't come this way. But Kami give me strength. I'll never understand how some can be so gullible. Let us continue our search elsewhere. Well, look who it is. It has been quite some time. What brings you to Kagane this day? A hawker claiming to be Tenzint's descendant. Probably Issue. I saw him not long ago. Yes, yes. You know him? My peculiar and suspicious friend. There is no merchant in Kugane who hasn't heard of the entrepreneur. He's made a fortune masquerading as Tenzin's heir. It's a brilliant scheme, very profitable. Tried to get in on it myself, but the Baron will suffer no competition. Who is this Baron of whom you speak? The soy sauce one. Who else? Kageyama. A dangerous man, yes, yes, with fingers in every pie. I fear him almost as much as I envy him. How many times do I have to teach the Baron the same lesson? Oh, you have had dealings with him, have you? If you know, then you know. Issue, on the other hand, is still something of an enigma. A skilled seamster, dedicated to his craft. Yet he partnered with Kageyama. I never would have guessed he had it in him. There is more to this man that meets the eye. We must investigate further. Have you any idea where Issue may have gone? You want information? Yes, yes. I want coin. Give me coin, and I'll give you information. That can be arranged, if you are willing to journey to Ryson Temple. Our friend Furi can escort you. A temple? And one I've never heard of at that. Wait, is it the sort of place where mortals fear to tread and malevolent spirits do dwell? Malevolent spirits? No, no. Just a somewhat ominous crystal. I'll take your word for it. As for Issue, he came to me and requested passage to the Isle of Beko, where he was to rendezvous with Kageyama. I refused. Better to not involve myself in the Baron's affairs, you understand. You do, was it? You have our thanks. We shall fulfill our end of the bargain. You need not fear. There is no time to waste. I shall have a messenger instruct Byaku and Soroban to meet us at the Isle. There was a scene there when we were staring up at Seryu's blue rabbit costume. It was very spooky. Yes. That's what I mean, Satin. That was the moment. You think he got offended by the malevolent spirits comment? Ah, possibly, yeah. How dare you call me malevolent? I'm just a giant snake. We are the first to arrive. Ishu and Kageyama will want to keep away from prying eyes. Somewhere near these rocks, perhaps. Let us take cover and eavesdrop on their conversation when they join us. Ha 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 ha. A fine day's work, Ishu. It pays to have fools for customers. Master Kageyama, please, this cannot continue. I shudder to think how the four lords would react if they learned of our crimes. Remind me, who was it who delivered you from a life of destitution after you lost your job as a seamster? Pray tell. Who? You, Master Kageyama, and I am forever grateful for your help, without which my family would be without house and home. But even so, what we are doing is wrong. Want to wash your hands of this dirty, dirty business and be a seamster again? Is that it? But once the truth comes out, and I would see that it does, who would dare to trust you? No, Ishu, you're going to continue the act, or you and your kin will starve in the streets. So that's the way of it. Ishu was coerced by Kageyama into this performance, and for his family's sake could not stop. Indeed. In light of this, how shall we proceed? We help Ishu, of course. Who are you, and why are you wearing such ridiculous outfits? Hearken to me, mortal. I will suffer you to sully Tenzin's name no longer. Defy me, and you shall not like the consequences. Sully Tenzin's name, you say? His flesh and blood are free to do with it as they please. Unless you can prove that Ishu is not in fact his descendant, I suggest you get out of my sight. Then prove it we shall. Sister, here! It is time we revealed our true selves to these mortals. Kami forfend. It cannot be. That's Flame-Kiss katana you hold in your hand. Is that the Phoenix Blade? For the crimes you have wrought in Tenzin's name, your punishment will be severe indeed. Beg not for mercy. Take heart, my dears. I shall make your deaths painless. Hearken to my melody. There is no turning back. Somebody, anybody, help me! What was that? Not only do you possess the Phoenix Blade, but the Four Lords themselves stand at your side. Tell me, are you Tenzin's descendant? Please have mercy, I beg you. I vow to never again use the name of your ancestor. You have my word. It is thanks to Fury that we made it here in time. And now we can rest easy in the knowledge that Kageyama's scheme has been ended. A mere illusion, and the man loses his head. Some baron he is. You look every bit as dignified as Tenzin did in his day. The Phoenix Blade suits you. I do not blame Master Kageyama for fleeing in terror. Yet, as odd as it sounds, I did not feel as though you meant me harm. At Tenzin's behest, I once played the role of a ferocious tiger to frighten the peoples of a village and drive them to flee before they were buried in a landslide. He took part in the deception as well, but, to be honest, your acting put his to shame. Have you considered auditioning at the Muji Koza Theatre? Honoured lords and lady, and descendant of Tenzin, I know not how to make amends for my sins. Though actions speak louder than words, I wish to say that I am truly sorry. Man or beast, we all make mistakes. I am told you are a master seamster. I might not go so far as to say master, but with my skill I managed to put food on the table. Then perhaps I shall have a word with an old friend. That can wait, Soroban. We must escort this young man to a safer location. This is far enough. It is past time we returned home. We are once more in your debt. It is because of you that this affair could be concluded before Tenzin's reputation suffered irreparable harm. Thank you, sister. Now that you are no longer bound to Kageyama, what will you do? Well, I know I must take responsibility for my actions. I will confess my crimes to the Sekisegumi. After I am released from my imprisonment, I shall take up an honest trade once more, and not rest until I have repaid each and every victim of my deception. Ah yes, I have been meaning to tell you, but I will let Hancock explain when he arrives shortly. Dreadfully sorry to have kept you all waiting. Ah, speak of the devil. And the urchin girl came as well. It has been far too long. You're looking green as ever, Soroban of the Blue. And once again, Genbu, that's Tataru. Ta-ta-ru. Though I'm sure I'll have to remind you next time too. You are Ishu, the seamster Soroban spoke of, yes? It is gainful employment you seek. The East Aldenard Trading Company would be thrilled to hire one of your expertise to work at our draper shop. The seamster in our service fell ill, and we've been looking for a replacement. I have no words. I am grateful, truly, but I cannot accept, for once I confess my crimes to the Sekisegumi, they will surely imprison me for a time. Ah yes, the Sekisegumi. I had a chat with them not long ago. They are aware that the scheme was contrived by Kageyama, and that you, too, are one of his victims. You will be required to assist them in your investigation. Of course, but you needn't steel yourself for even a brief incarceration. Hancock, you have our thanks for calling sister to our aid. Oh no, not at all. I am pleased to have been of service. I have not forgotten our arrangement, sister. Have you decided upon a reward? Oh, how that warms the heart. A material to help restore the keepsake of our dear friend. I have just the thing. I won't spoil the surprise now, but do look forward to it. I suppose we had better return to the city, but before that... You could have called upon me too, you know. It's not like I wasn't part of the whole saving the Ruby Sea from becoming consumed by roaring flames endeavour or anything. Forgive us, urchin Tataru. We assumed you were busy. That. And you did struggle mightily to help Sister restrain Soroban that one time, so there was some concern that you might prove a liability should it come to blows. Nevertheless, we will take your words to heart. Perhaps we should assume our guises and walk among men more often. It was a refreshing change of pace, on the whole. I would not be against it. We were in a bit of a rush on this occasion, but with a longer visit, we might better appreciate men's curious ways. I have no doubt we shall meet again. I but pray that the time comes sooner than later. You and me both. I'll be sure to step by the temple later. You know you are always welcome. The others would be thrilled to see you and Tataru both. Now then, I say we resume Soroban's training upon our return to the temple. Must we so soon? You did well to apprise Hancock of Ishu's predicament. He may now make amends by putting his talents to good use, and continue to provide for his family. Indeed, 'twas behaviour befitting one destined to become the next Genbu. The road ahead is long, but we doubt not that you are worthy, and so we only want to encourage you to reach your full potential. If that is how you feel, then I have little choice but to do my best. Oh my gosh, thank you so much for the raid. Fenris Gaming. Welcome, welcome. That was a bit of a long cutscene. But yes. I am very grateful. Welcome to day 2 of patch 6.3. Yesterday we went through the main scenario quest, and today we are going through all the side quests. It's an exciting time. How is everyone finding the new patch? Does anyone have a favorite theme so far? I can hardly believe the sexy Goomy only wished to question me. Master Hancock must have a way with words. Speaking of which, I believe he and Mistress Tataru will be joining us shortly. Ishu, you'll be pleased to know that I've just finished making arrangements for your immediate employment. May our profits soar, that you may give your family the life they deserve. Master Hancock, I do not deserve such kindness. I will do my best to earn my keep. I want you to know that I intend to work hard to make up for the many mistakes that I've made. It is not much, but I have prepared a gift for you as an expression of my gratitude. A set of garments that I made before I was embroiled in Master Kageyama's schemes. The lords and ladies of Kugane once held my work in high regard, and I hope you will as well. You will also find a little something from me included within. A well-deserved reward. Wait, what exactly did you give, sister? Payment for introducing the East Aldenard Trading Company to prospective new clients. What else? I can't say I'm surprised you would try to peddle goods to the four lords themselves, but still, have you no shame? Regardless, now's as good a time as any to inform Sister of the result of our deliberations. Said result being, we have agreed to an official partnership of the East Aldenard Trading Company, one which I will exploit for all it's worth to make Taru's boutique a household name in Kugane. For my part, I pray this is the start of a mutually beneficial partnership. To business. I would have a tour of this draper shop of yours immediately, if you don't mind. Sorry to cut things short, sister, but time is money, and I have precious little to spare. Once you've seen to any other unresolved matters you have here, I'd be grateful if you'd return to Old Charlian and inform Medina of our new arrangement. Welcome back. Negotiations with Master Hancock were fruitful, I hope. Well, I expected nothing less from you and Mistress Tataru. As for Mistress Tataru's necklace, you say Master Hancock slipped a gift into the parcel you received from Issue, yes? May I have a look? My goodness, what a stunning set of garments. They certainly offer a taste of the Far East. As for the item Master Hancock set aside for Mistress Tataru's necklace. By the sisters, a black pearl. Do you have any idea how rare these are? They can only be harvested from blacklip oysters in the Ruby Sea. I cannot be certain until it has been incorporated into the necklace, but I believe the darker shade will serve as a contrast to the brilliant sapphire centerpiece and make it stand out even more. To part with such a precious treasure, Master Hancock is either very wealthy or very well connected, or both. We would do well to maintain a good relationship with the East Aldenard Trading Company. But that is the boutique's concern. After all you have done for us, I am sure you want nothing more than a good rest. Thank you again for your continued assistance. When next we discover a client we'd like to add to our ever-growing list, I hope we can count on your assistance once more. Ooh. What is this? Beautiful. It is. It's very nice. This is a good reward. Very good. Alright, that was Kataru's grand endeavour. On to the next. And here we go to Radzidhan. classic Squish. For now. So, the next new quest is called Shadowed Pasts once more. But it does require me to do this quest first, which I haven't done yet. Saturn says, so much for the new glam fun while it lasted. Yes. Well, you know. Gotta stick on brand, right? Represent the pink. Yes, this quest is called Shadowed Pass, so we need to do this first, apparently. Something has this radiant scout unnerved. Ah, Mistress Sister. You couldn't have appeared at a better time. You see, while out patrolling the city, I chanced to sight a void scent. Ah! I immediately chased it down with the intent of eliminating it, but something about it struck me as odd. For one, it made no move to defend itself, but simply sat there, jiggling. Which is why, against my better judgment, I decided to capture it instead. Having travelled to the Void, I dare say you have considerable knowledge of its denizens. If you have a moment, might I trouble you for your opinion on the creature's unusual behaviour? I'm truly grateful. Now, if you would follow me, the creature is being held in the Hall of the Radiant Host. Cheers over there. Here it is. Surprisingly docile, even when I captured it, and there have been no reports of attacks prior to that. Even so, it's the nature of Voidsent to prey on people for their ether. Perhaps it bides its time, waiting to carry out some manner of scheme. You. I remember you. Yes, you were at Troya. Please, you must help me. What do you need help with? Oh, you do understand me. I understand the mortal tongue well enough, but I don't have a mouth to produce sounds. It's been a struggle to convey my thoughts. But not anymore. You can help me. Yes, you can. You can converse with the Voidsent. Amazing. Could you ask it why it came here? When you and yours stormed the castle, I was caught up in the fighting and died. In time I returned, but I tire of fighting, so I fled, using the gate to your world. Having just been reborn, however, my essence hadn't fully bound together yet, and so, when I emerged from the gate, It was as several sundered selves. Frightened and confused, they scattered. Following their trail led me here, my diminutive size allowing me to remain largely unseen. But by the same token, I can do little more than sneak about. Each of us was weak and powerless. That's why we consumed one another in the first place. Together we are strong. I want you to help me find all of me, so that I can be whole again. What did you intend to do in this world? Why, live here, of course. I've always wanted to. We still remember the past, you see. Still remember when we were mortals. We long to have that life again, but we need your help, starting by reuniting us. We won't try to devour anyone, even when we're whole, I swear. You wish to learn more about the Void, yes? There is much we can teach you about those who rule its domains, about their past. Find the others, and they'll tell you all they know. No eating, no tricks. Do we have a bargain? So it crossed over to our world to escape conflict, and now searches for the rest of itself. I understand Void Scent are quite reliable when it comes to fulfilling a pact, and I dare say having one as an ally would benefit our research into their world. Very well. If you would be so kind as to search for its kin, I will consult my superiors on how best to deal with them. By that, I take it we have a bargain. Good, good. I sense 4 others close by. When you find them, you need only point them in this direction. Once they sense my presence, I can guide them the rest of the way. My thanks again for your help. If you could see the other Void Scent back here, I will tend to the rest. Like me, the others have an interest in the lives of mortals. They are bound to be here, in this city. By the way, if anyone hears drilling, I'm very sorry, there seems to be drilling going on nearby. We will endure. You can't hear anything, Saturn? Ah, that's good. I'm glad. What's that? I asked you to search for me in exchange for knowledge about powerful Void Scent. I was still wanting to see this and that, but I suppose a deal is a deal. Those men over there, soldiers, are they not? We used to have soldiers in our world too. There were lots of them during the Contra Memoria. Ah, back from Weaver's warding, are you? I hear you fought well against the Void Scent that slipped through. Come now, I merely did my duty. Haven't we all sworn to protect our nation? no matter the cost. Protect our nation. How familiar those words. Where was it that I heard them? Ah yes, it was the early days of the Contra Memoria. The enemy had conjured a terrible eidolon that laid siege to a fortress. The garrison was made up of ordinary soldiers, men and women with no remarkable abilities, but led by their valiant commander, they fought bravely and desperately. They had to last until the Memoriat arrived, the commander told them, needed to hold out no matter the cost. A Memoriat did eventually arrive, but not soon enough for the soldiers. Having struck down the eidolon, the Memoriat and his servant searched the castle for survivors. They found only the dead. But just when they had given up all hope, a faint groaning reached their ears. They rushed over to the sound and cleared away debris. To find a lone survivor, the garrison commander. Instead of joy, however, the sight of the man filled them with anger. Your soldiers are slaughtered to a man, yet there's barely a scratch on you. What's the meaning of this? The eidolon was savage but mindless. It was a simple thing to hide myself beneath fallen debris. Hired? As commander, you had a duty to your men. You were supposed to put their lives before your own. Spare me. My duty was to ensure the fortress stood, and it did. Besides, my death would have achieved nothing. Honor be damned. No, I'm sworn to protect our nation, and to do that I must live. It isn't my fate to fall here. It isn't your fate, you say? Is he... merely unconscious. Come, let us bury the soldiers, and their commander with them. Fate shall decide what becomes of him, whether he lives or dies. Very well, my lord. Funeral rites were later held for the fallen, but solemn tears quickly gave way to horrified screams as a body emerged from the earth. The commander. I can't die. I must live, the man is said to have declared. The people thought him a demon, a dishevelled horror, muttering curses as he wandered off to regions unknown. Scarmillion, they called him, a name befitting his newfound grisly visage, a name befitting a monster. We thought we buried him deep, but a mortal's desire to live is not to be underestimated. You're immortal, so I expect you understand that desire. Well, that concludes my tale. I had best rejoin my selves. If you will excuse me. So this is where mortals consume ether. Dreading loneliness more than hunger. How very like me. If you don't mind though, I'd like to observe the mortals a little while longer. The food here is simply sublime. Why, I feel stronger with every bite, as if the Murga themselves were granting me their blessing. The food is tasty, that's true enough. But no food is so sublime as to be substitute for proper training, my friend. Stronger with every bite, every feed. For my part of the bargain, I will tell you about how we Voidsent become strong. Simply put, it depends on the quality and quantity of ether we harbour. When the world was consumed by darkness, the heroes known as Memoriads arose as powerful Voidsent. In contrast, the vast majority of mortals, powerless and unremarkable as they were, became ordinary Voidsent like me. There were exceptions, of course, but one in particular I'll never forget. Scarmillion. Never had I seen a Voidsent so craven. Even when he pushed to the brink of starvation, he would prey only on those weaker than himself. He subsisted on scant leavings and lived in constant fear and hunger. In the face of danger, a Voidsent stronger than himself, fleeing was the only option. But a day came when he found his way barred. How pitiful. Such overwhelming ether. Who is this? You fled instead of facing your foe. Why? Why? I'm too weak. Why else? I would have been devoured. So had you enough strength, you would have stood your ground? Very well then. What's happening? Yes, I feel it. The power swelling within me. Lo, your foe returns. What have you done to me? I granted you but a sliver of ether. 'Twas with the power you already possessed that you defeated your foe. I possessed such power? Fear had clouded your eyes, blinded you to the strength you had attained feeding on the weak. If you would free yourself from fear, then join me. You shall have a greater cause to live for, and know true power. Curious how, in a world without death, the fear of it could be the key to great strength. The knight recognized this, recognized the void sense potential, and thus did he take him into his service. Determined as he is to live, it wouldn't surprise me if he were still somewhere out there. He'd be even more powerful now, I expect, from all the devouring he would have done since. Unlike your world, eating actually does make you stronger in hours. Well, I must be going now. The others are waiting. My other self grows lonely, you say? My apologies. It was my intent to seek you out, seek out the others, but I was distracted by the bickering pair of mortals yonder. My goodness, but there's been some colourful language. To hells with your father. You shouldn't need his permission just to leave the goddamn house. Please, mind your language. What would father say if he were to hear you? It's always father this, father that with you. I'm sick of it. You're your own woman now. Bloody act like one for a change. Colourful language, yes? Not from the girl, though. Oh no. She appears to be quite well bred. I just hope she's happier than a girl I knew long, long ago. That girl was born into a family of thugs who suddenly found themselves nobility. She was raised as a noblewoman and had servants tending to her every need. But, in the end, she was merely a beautiful bird, kept in a gilded cage. Wanting her to be a proper lady, her parents presided over all aspects of her life. They decided everything for her, telling her what to say and do. Chafing from the fetters of her restrictive life, she solicited her handmaiden's aid and stole outside the manor, where she enjoyed a moment of bliss unbeknownst to her parents, or so she thought. It was not long before her father dragged her back to her room, barring the door and windows, denying her even the simple pleasure of an afternoon breeze. Even a bird in a cage may chirp freely, but she wasn't even suffered to give voice to her desires. But she wouldn't be deterred. Having once tasted sweet freedom, she yearned for more. And one day she succeeded in sneaking out of the manor a second time. You're late. I was beginning to think you wouldn't come. If you're expecting your friends, I'm afraid they're not coming. Father, how did you... What do you mean they're not coming? I had known that some miscreants were cavorting in these parts, but to think they'd dare try to consort with my daughter... Well, you needn't worry about them any more. They're food for the fishes now. How could you do this, Father? Why must you torment me so? Know your place, girl. You are a means for our family to gain influence, and I won't have you sullying yourself with riffraff. You will not leave your chambers save with my permission, nor will you disobey me again. If you do so, there will be severe consequences. Am I understood? I said, am I understood? To hell. What did you say? I said, go to hell. Oh, to think that it could be so exhilarating to speak my mind, to do as I please. No more living in a cage. From this moment on, I am free, free as the wind. The young woman struck out on her own, and in her travels discovered her true calling, not in the halls of lords and ladies, but on the battlefield. She became a force of nature, famed for her striking beauty, which belied a terrible savagery. And with this new life, she also claimed a new name, Barbaricha. Dun dun dun. Indeed, she found her freedom. But did she also find happiness, I wonder? I suppose I'll never know. Nor does it matter, for the world that once was is no more. Oh, but goodness me, I had better rejoin the others. I was not expecting that end. That was a good story. Satin says that turned dark quick. Yes, it escalated quickly. She had an axe behind her back the whole time, waiting for the time to strike. Barbaricha. Ah, what a refreshing breeze. I'm to return to the others. Bah, they should come here. Would you look at this beautiful boundless sky? Mortals take to the air from here, do they not? Would that I had wings to soar among the clouds myself. But we voidsent are not wont to roam, you see. The mightiest among us carve out domains, while the rest labour to stay in their good graces. Now, the master of a domain seldom ventures outside, for it is in one's own territory that one is strongest. For some, however, such confinement proved trying, as was the case for a certain voidsent I knew. I speak of the free-spirited terror, Barbaricha. When she first established her domain, she whiled away the days, waiting for her minions to bring her prey. The ether amassed from these offerings was devoted to the singular pleasure of caring for her silky, flowing locks. But the resources of her domain were not without the limits. It was only when none remained to oppose her that she realized she was a prisoner in her own domain, and unless she broke free, she would inevitably wither away, alone. Not knowing what to do, she had fallen into the depths of despair, when the hand of salvation came to pull her out. At this rate, my precious hair will frazzle and fray, had I only the strength to leave my domain. If strength is your desire, that is easily granted. Who are you? So much power surging through me. And what will you do with it? What is it you desire? What I desire is... You would move your very domain. Impressive. That I can do such a thing. What have you done to me? I granted you ether, nothing more. It was your will that made it possible. My will? Even so, no matter where you should go, there is naught but darkness. What could your destination probably be? Destination? I have no need of such. I wish but to be free, like the wind. In a world that has met its end, rare indeed is the soul who desires freedom so ardently that she could will her very domain to move. Recognizing this quality, the knight would grant her more power and a place of command in his mighty army. A story worthy of our bargain, I trust. I might have had more to tell you, had I not fallen off her domain. It seems you mortals also have a fondness for flying. I'd certainly like to try one of those airships of yours. But perhaps another time. My other selves will be a blubbering mess if I don't hurry and rejoin them. You have found the last of the Void Scent. Time to head back to the Hall of the Radiant Host. Thank you so much for finding me. I hope the knowledge I had to share was worthy of our agreement. More than worthy, I'd say. They told me of Scarmillion and Barbaricha. My other selves lived quite disparate lives, both as mortals and voidsent, though I suppose it is rather fortuitous that they've crossed paths with such powerful voidsent. But more importantly, what they could offer was worthy of our bargain. For that, I am glad. All that remains now is for us to rejoin and become whole again. Huh? Is this not all of me? There can be no other explanation. There is still more of me lost out there somewhere. But I don't sense them. Where could they have gone? You mean there's more of them wandering about? By the sisters. At the very least, if what you say is true, they pose no threat to the people. Until the others can be found, we will keep these 5 under our care. Should I sense the others nearby, I hope we can count on you to find them too. That was good story. Good storytelling, I enjoyed that. Would you tell us of your recent ventures when you next return? I promise to make it worth your while. And this would be the new quest. If it isn't Mistress Sister. Since we last spoke, I have continued keeping an eye on the Voidsent. While the creatures have given me no reason to believe that they pose a danger, the rest of them remain at large. My fellows and I have yet to come by an eyewitness information, but their forms being what they are, they cannot have gotten far. Of course, it would make our search easier if they were likewise drawn to Radz-at-Han. My other selves have been telling me about their adventures. Truly, your world is a fascinating place. Your world is fascinating too. So you've enjoyed hearing my tales? I would be glad to share more with you. Once I've found the rest of me, that is. The others have more knowledge of mighty Voidsent, you see. The sensation. Could it be... Yes, I feel them. The rest of myself. They're very close now. There's 4 of them, and unless I'm mistaken, they're somewhere in the city. Please find them for me, that I might be whole again. As before, by way of payment, they will tell you about powerful Voidsent and their pasts. Now, the nearest appears to be this way. Perhaps that's a good place to start. The rest of its fellows have appeared in the city. Then you had best track them down. Judging by the direction, I expect the nearest one is in Dharma. I leave the creatures in your capable hands. You've been looking for me, you say? Sorry for the trouble. I found a place with beautiful water and thought I'd have a rollick, but ended up being washed away. I tried to get back upstream, swimming against the flow, and had managed to come this far when you appeared. After all that effort, I'd like nothing more than to reunite with my other selves. But if you've been promised a tale, then you shall have one. Nothing but small fry. See that mortal there? He finished me up, but promptly released me while calling me a hideous slug. I don't know what that was about, but it worked out well enough. Oh, to be out in the open sea and catch something big. But until I can afford a halfway decent rod, I'll just have to put up with this tired old fishing hole. I know the feeling well. The desire to chase after big fish. I used to be a fisherman too, you see. Together, with my brother. But the Contra Memoria wreaked havoc on the ocean's ether, and nary any fish remained to be caught. Each morning we would wake up not knowing whether we'd have food to fill our bellies. On a day like so many before, we were waiting in vain for a bite. My brother's face was fixed in a grimace, and I assumed he was cursing the war in his mind. But it turned out he was thinking about something else altogether. And when he finally spoke, the frustration was plain in his voice. Even if there were fish to catch, is this how I'm going to live out my days? Sitting endlessly with a pole in hand. It's like dying a slow death, and I can't take it anymore. More so than our privation, it was the mundane, unchanging nature of our lives that bothered him. In the next instant, he blurted out, "That's it. If there's a war, I'm going to fight too. That way I won't be bored, at least." And just like that, he threw aside his rod and set off, right into the thick of the conflict. Damn it. It's over. Who the hells are you? Whoever you are, I'm in your debt. Having exhausted my powers, I was all but defeated. But now none remain to oppose me here. Perhaps you would consider serving me. You would be well rewarded, of course. I could grant you riches, castles. What's the meaning of this? Weren't you a friend? Friend? I'm just after some excitement. So come on, give it to me. There you are. Thank heavens. What were you thinking? Taking on Memoriates with your bare fists? However strong you may be, you're lucky to be alive. Alive. Yes, I've never felt so alive. Where are you going? No more chasing small fry for me. From now on, I'm going to live for the thrill of battle. I'll seek out those stronger than me, and I'll give them all a taste of my fist. Never have I felt so alive as I did, risking life and limb, he said, as he strode away, never to return. Some time afterwards, a rumour reached me of a fearsome warrior. The man would arrive unannounced on a battlefield, trounce anyone and everyone indiscriminately before disappearing again. Cagnazzo he was called, and cursed for a feral dog. That was enough for me to know that my brother still lived. It was only when I became a voidsent that I came to understand my brother, to understand the emptiness he felt in his mundane life. It inspired me to want to break free of my own unchanging existence, and instilled in me a longing for this world. And for all his quirks, he was a good and kind brother, always looking out for me and helping me with my fishing. Like everyone, he must have turned into a voidsent. If he had the chance to come here, I believe he would have found a purpose in life. A proper one. Thanks to you, I could relive these old memories. And with that, I had best go and join my other selves. Be seeing you. What business does a mortal have with me? So the rest of me are safe? Thank goodness. It was worth risking myself to let the others escape. No sooner had we arrived in this world than we were attacked by fearsome creatures of stone. I drew their attention, and after scrambling hither and yon, managed to get myself to safety. But to so jealously guard treasure, you mortals must truly be fond of it. Lo, there's another place for storing it right there. They say it's mountain after mountain of treasure in there. We just need to find the coffers that act as portals. And then survive the guardians and deadly fiends. I don't like our chances with just the three of us. Less of us means a bigger share of each. Exactly. Besides, what is an adventure without a little danger? I'm really not sure about this. To willingly throw oneself into danger. It's truly a strange mortal quirk. Unlike your kind, we void-sent are quite risk-averse. For instance, we wouldn't think to challenge a stronger being. Except for him, perhaps. An odd fellow who loved fighting for its own sake. His name was Kagnatsu, and there was nothing he feared in his domain. Employing deception, he trapped his foes and drowned them in a bottomless mire. It mattered not how strong they were, all fell before him. Yet, despite his victories, he never truly felt satisfied, and through a chance meeting he would learn the reason why. That you should repel my attack. You're tougher than I expected. To whom do I speak? I am Cagnazzo, and I'll bet you're the one they say is seeking out the strong. Well, if it's battle you want, then you need look no further. Lest you misunderstand, I do not desire fruitless battle. On the contrary, it would seem that it is you who seek out the strong. Why? When you're hungry, you devour. It doesn't matter who. Your luck ran out when you strolled into my domain. None would risk themselves so simply because of an empty stomach. Nay, my friend, the source of your hunger lies elsewhere. What is this ether? So pure and sublime. There's so much of it I'm ripe to burst, and yet I still don't feel satisfied. Do you see? 'Tis not for ether you thirst, but battle. You'll not quench this thirst with stagnant swamp water. Nay, naught save that of a raging torrent will sate you. What do you mean? There is no joy to be had in ensnaring your quarry. For victory to have savour, you must place yourself in the midst of danger. If you join me, I will see to it you never want for dread foes to grant you satisfaction. What say you? Why do I feel as though I've remembered something important? Whoever you are, I would know more. And thus did he find a place to belong, upon the fine line that divides the devourer and the devoured. If he could do battle with just one worthy foe, he told himself, he could go to his rest forever satisfied. From that day forth, Cagnasso tirelessly sought out those who might be able to best him, each time hoping for bliss, but knowing that, like as not, disappointment ultimately waited. A yearning so strong, nothing else matters. Do you have such a thing driving you too, mortal? Looking back, it was extremely reckless of me to come to this world, but it has been worth every bit of danger and more. Ah, I can't wait to share my experiences with myself. I'll be on my way now. Thanks for coming to find me. The rest of me are here too. What a relief. I was taking in the sights in a village nearby when I realized I had become separated. I'm glad I decided to follow the clamour and head to this city. There are so many mortals here, so many beautiful buildings. Father, what is this building? This, my boy, is the resting place of the great Al-Zadar. Centuries ago, he journeyed here from the mainland and helped to end the war between the Matanga tribes, an act which laid the foundation for the nation of Rajasthan. So it's thanks to him that we all get along. Ah, a tomb. A place for mortals to remember their dead. It calls to mind people from my own past. My mother, who died in the Contra Memoria, and the ones who laid her to rest. Long, long ago, there lived two powerful mages. It was said that none could match their might, yet they nevertheless continued to hone their skills at their training ground, atop a peak called Mount Ordeals. One day, foul fiends began attacking villages unprovoked. Upon hearing the grim tidings, the mages came to a resolution. Through years of training, we have mastered our flames. 'Tis time for us to employ them for the salvation of the world. So it was that the pair descended the mountain and set about vanquishing the fiends. Just one left. Leave it to me. Don't! Please don't hurt her. Don't hurt my mother. Your mother? Please save her, I beg you. What do I do? It seems I have no choice. What? She's turned into a crystal. I said that I would save the world, but I couldn't save even a single life. My flames were meant to be like the sun. They were meant to protect, to keep warm and light the way. And yet, and yet, in his great fury at his failings, the mage's face turned red as ruby. Thus did the girl choose to name him Rubicante. The mage returned to his mountain, where he buried his comrade. Upon the gravestone he etched words of admonishment, and continued his training alone. One day, when visiting his comrade's grave, he found that a familiar crystal had been left there. Its presence lifted a great weight off his chest. Without words, it told him that the girl was grateful for what he did. That day he regained something he had lost, and descending the mountain once more, he embarked upon a journey, determined to use his powers for good. As sad as it is to lose a precious life, it is sadder still, I think, to lose one's purpose. Mount Ordeals has been swallowed up by darkness, and his comrade's grave with it. But wherever Rubicante may be, I like to believe that the little girl still remains in his heart. Well, it's past time I rejoined the others. It was nice talking to you, mortal. What? I'm calling me, you say? I can appreciate my separation anxiety, but I answer to no one, not even myself. I am my own master. I do what I like, when I like. I will rejoin the others at my own leisurely pace. Mortals, on the other hand, always seem to be busy with work. Short as your lives are, one would think you'd spend more time on leisure. You're truly strange creatures. still burning strong, just like the start of the experiment. By the sisters, but tending the flame is mind-numbing work. Someone has to do it, I suppose, but I just wish it wasn't me. Tending the flame? That reminds me of a void scent I once knew. He watched over a beacon fire, seeing to it that it remained ever lit. Unlike that mortal, however, he did it of his own volition. Such an act served no practical purpose in our world. Even if night and day existed, we Voidsent don't rely on the light. Yet he persisted. Though perplexed by his curious ritual, I somehow found myself helping him with it. Rubicante was his name, and he went about his task dutifully. Others mocked him for his meaningless act. But it must have held some manner of meaning to him, and so, when I chanced to find the beacon guttered out, I made certain to let him know. For time out of mind, this routine continued uninterrupted until that fateful day.
I see flames dancing in the distance. Who should I find tending it but a mage of considerable might? With such power, surely you can do more than keep a beacon lit. My flames serve not to smite others, nor to sate my hunger. Then what purpose do they serve?
I cannot say for certain, but to simply behold this flame somehow sets my heart at ease.
I see. It would seem you lack the power to comprehend the feelings engraved upon your soul. But such a lack is readily rectified.
This warmth, invigorating and comforting, where have I felt it before? Of course, the sun, that which once shone its light upon creation. Though it would never set, though it would set, never did it fail to rise again, and like the sun, my flames must never die.
So that is the way of it. Through your flames, you sought to recreate the sun's journey, to recreate the world as it was before.
Who are you, who could unearth memories buried in the deepest recesses of my heart?
It matters not who I am, but what I seek to do. Join me, and together we shall banish the darkness and see that the sun rises again.
According to the mysterious knight, the price to save the world was clear. The inhabitants of the neighbouring reality must be sacrificed. To which Rubicante replied, I have sworn to use my power to save the world. If innocent souls must be consumed by my flames, then I shall bear responsibility for the sin. Thus did he choose his path, of his own volition, and his spirit lives on in me as an undying flame. A world engulfed in darkness has become the norm for me. But since coming here and basking in the sun, I've been reminded of all that we have lost. I understand Rubicante better now, understand why he was willing to sacrifice all to restore the world to the way it was. To him, it was worth the price. Well, I must say, it felt great to take a squirm down memory lane. With that, I shall now rejoin the others. Of my own volition, of course. You have found the last of the void scent. Time to head back to the Hall of the Radiant Host. You did it. You found all of me. I trust I upheld my part of the bargain and told you about more mighty void scent. I learned about the pasts of Cagnazzo and Rubicante. Though you already crossed paths with them. Though the tales may not help you in the battles ahead, I dare say they gave you something to think upon. As mortals, then void sent, then archfiends, these troubled souls fought with all of their being. And now their fight is over. Well, I myself have only heard the tales from the others. If I'm to make their feelings my own, I need to become whole again, which I can do now, thanks to you. So all of them are accounted for. Then by all means, let's have them return to the way they were. Without further ado then, to me, myself's. last, we're whole again. There's nothing we need to fear. And that which each of us experienced since coming here, it's as if I had experienced it all myself. I say it again, but this world is truly a fascinating place. I must see more of it. Yes, I must.
I'm not sure what I was expecting, but now that it's whole, I can't help but feel it's more of a danger.
Yet, with the undersea portal destroyed, there's no way to return it whence it came. Whatever should we do now? What's this I see? Oh, it's void scent. There's a few of them in that direction. More of my brethren made it over, it seems. Curious, though. This is much farther than I can usually perceive. I can only assume my vision has improved. Could this be the accumulative effect of our experiences here? What? It can sense its kind from a vast distance. Amazing! Such an ability would take the task of tracking down invading voids and debris. If the creature would agree to assist us in this manner, I'm confident that I can convince my superiors to forge a pact with it. Oh, if it means I can remain in this world, then I'd gladly agree to that arrangement. I can't say how much I'm indebted to you, mortal. Working with this fellow here, I'll find a way to communicate with your kind and make myself useful. Thank you for everything. Somewhere in the world. I will be on my best behaviour until I've forged a pact. It's nothing short of a dream come true to be in this world, and I'll do whatever is required to remain. With regards to communication, as the creature appears to understand our words, I believe I shall begin by teaching it letters. With some effort, I'm confident we'll be conversing ere long. Very good. That was a nice quest. We have an orchestrion role somewhere in the world. What is this song? Let's go have a look. Ah, the ominous Void World music. Very good. Right, well, that was a good chunk of questing. I gotta take a break, get some food in me. There is still more content to do. So, thank you very much for watching. I shall see you next time.